I'm Mickey Proulx. I'm an international runway coach. I'm also an international editorial model, and I've had the pleasure of being able to go around the world working in different facets of pageantry as well as holding 2 national titles. So it's taken me 6 years of working on myself, working on my technique, learning about pageantry. If I could go back and do the perfect coaching plan for myself, I would have gotten a coach so much earlier. But I also, before I even would have thought about getting a coach, I would have built a solid foundation to work off of, because you need to do the research, you need to do the inner work, you need to do the physical work so that your body can support it all. And I think that the girls who take time off of pageantry, once they dip their feet in and realize how difficult it is and that there's a science behind it, end up coming back so much stronger. So this is what I would do for myself if I was starting out in pageants again, and I was someone who was a huge tomboy. I didn't even know how to walk like a woman, didn't know how to dress myself, but I really take from the old school etiquette classes style of, because that's how old beauty queens used to do it. They used to have etiquette classes in school. They used to already be taught things like proper posture. They used to already be taught things like how to speak, how to formulate and answer questions. That was all etiquette that was already taught. So I really want to dip back into that formula of having that basis to build off of. Because if you have a pyramid, you've got a solid base. That little tip is not going anywhere once you start getting to your spins and you get to specific kinds of facial expressions for each pageant organization that you're competing in. All those little things, if they're stacked on top of a solid base, they're going to be so much easier to get through. So for me personally, the way that I would start is not even getting into heels until considerably like a few months or weeks down the line, because I would want to focus on the other things first. And those other things are proper posture, getting rid of that tech neck, doing some tummy time where you're just propped up on your phone, on your bed, on your stomach, so that you can have 15 minutes of stretching your shoulders back and have those squared shoulders and have those muscles in your shoulder blades pulling yourself up and straight. And it's so much better for your health and your digestion as well. That's another thing, having a more healthy lifestyle, just focusing on prioritizing nutrition that's going to keep you full and nourished, rather than things that are just going to spark joy for the moment and make you feel terrible later. Doing things like a morning walk, focusing on my balance, just standing there flat-footed with on one foot, doing that little balancing act pulls in your core, and it also strengthens your ankles, so you're not one of those models on a runway in borrowed shoes that end up buckling your ankles, because your ankles are strong, you're able to do it. I have been able to go from ankles buckling so easily, toppling over, to once I strengthened myself, now I'm a lot more confident, and I'm also more confident to choose a shorter heel when I know, say, that stage is it's wobbly, it's not stable enough for me. I'll step out of my Chinese laundry and into a shorter heel and still rock that stage. So I think that it's very important to be able to have that internal strength as well. Having a good skincare routine that's gentle. If it hurts, it's not working. Wearing sunscreen every day so you have that ritualistic motion to yourself, that you care, you're thinking about yourself, that ends up building up your confidence. Fixing your digestion, having a healthy, it doesn't have to be restrictive, it doesn't have to be a weight thing, but just so that you have the energy. If you're on stage and you're answering a question, and everyone who's competed in a pageant or done a photo shoot or done a model search knows, you don't get a chance to eat. You don't even think to sit there and drink a bunch of water. And sometimes, depending on the setting, you might even be handed alcoholic beverages that'll dehydrate you more. And then when you finally get out on stage, when it's late in the day or late in the evening, and you're asked these questions, your brain's not going to have the carbohydrates, the fats, and the water that it needs to be able to produce a coherent answer. And then that's going to tank your score. But it may look better in pictures to be dehydrated because of your muscles, but we're not bodybuilding here. You need to have your mind working too. That's going to be way more important than whatever potential scores are going to be deducted because your stomach wasn't as flat as the girl ahead of you or behind you. You need to focus on all of the elements of the competition and making sure that you're healthy and ready for it. Gone are the days of people telling other people to starve themselves. Gone are the days of being unhealthy to try and achieve these awards and these accolades. You really do need to just be healthier, be confident in what you already have, and then let that show for itself and speak for itself. So if I was to go back and start all over, I would walk with my heels, practice proper posture. Sorry, I keep missaying that. Walking with my hips, practicing proper posture, doing ritualistic self-care, and focusing on my general attitude and how I speak to people, taking time to be able to sit there and think. But I also would have done a lot of research of what's the commonalities amongst Miss Universe, amongst Miss International, amongst Miss World, amongst Miss Perfect, like all of these other organizations. Like, what's the commonality that all of these queens have? Oh, they've got really strong walk where they're not going to buckle in their heels. They'll have really strong poses where they take every motion is controlled and deliberate, and they're holding their posture the whole time. They're in that state for pictures. Their facial expressions are more natural, and practicing that so that that's muscle memory, because those are the basics that are going to go across the board. And then when it comes to focusing on the individual organization, what you want to focus on for that specific one, Miss Grand's going to be totally different from Miss Universe. You want to sit there, have that foundation that you can work off of so that you can add in those elements and it's not going to be difficult. You're not going to be teetering when you want to do just a little bit more swish to your spin, because you have those ankle muscles, you have those hip flexors. If you consider it a sport, even if you don't consider it a sport, but you have tight hips and they cramp up whenever you start walking in your heels, do hip flexor stretches right before you get into it all. If you like the way that your arms look and the stability that it gives your shoulders, do some push-ups before you go out on stage, before you put your dress on. Like, learn some makeup techniques that work and complement your face. And I do actually really suggest going into those old, there's actually quite a few on YouTube, old etiquette and makeup classes from 60s and 70s. Those are really good for taking into account your face shape and using the same basics but in different places for everyone else's face shape, and then you can learn the optical illusions with that. And if you know how to make up your face when it comes time to doing interviews and when it comes time to doing press conferences, you're going to be a lot better. And then when it comes time to having a makeup artist doing your makeup, you know what to request specifically. Hey, I like this. Hey, I like that. And you're going to feel so much better when you're on the stage, because you're going to know that the light's going to hit. Hey, I need to have my contour just a little bit lower because I tipped my head up and the light's going to hit there. Doing all of that is going to finalize those details. I work with where I am the client for my coach, and that's what she focuses on, is let's get all of the small details to have a finished picture. If you're going to do the basics, be the best one doing those basics. If you can master those basics on stage, the girl that's trying to flip around and she's stumbling because she's flipping around because she doesn't have those basics, she's going to think that she's doing better, but she's not. And one of the big things that I get when girls are like, oh, Mickey, I want you to coach me. Can you watch me walk? Can you give me some ideas? I'm just reinforcing the coaching and what they already have. And then when it comes down to trying to teach them everything else, it's like, okay, what can you do? Let's focus on that. And one thing I always try and tell girls is the same thing that Lou tells the girls for Miss Universe. Don't look at the other girls and what they're doing and think that you can do that. You're doing you the best that you can. So yeah, that girl can go out there and do 3 spins. If you can't do a single spin, don't you dare go out and do a single spin. because you can't do it. But you know what you can do? You can flirt with the judges just a little bit more appropriately for your face shape, and it looks more pleasing to the eye. You know how to catch that light so the cameras can get you. That's what you can do. You've got that little effervescent flare when you go to strike that pose. That catches the eye. The two things that catch the eye are movement and sound. So if you have, and it works in both ways, if you're going to try to draw attention, doing a flashy, smooth movement is going to draw that attention. But if you have one arm that swings wildly and the other one doesn't, that movement's going to draw attention. So you better get that out of there. So you want to make sure that you have that solid foundation to work off of before you add in the rest of the elements. And now I've run up a bunch of time on my little rant, but with this little coaching session, I wanted to sit down and be candid and talk about these important things. Focus on strengthening your balance, on stretching out your feet, your legs, your calf muscles. Focus on your posture. Focus on walking properly and confidently, the way that they tell you in all of those videos that you're watching about your walk. Do that flat-footed first. See how it feels flat-footed. And then it's easier to slip into once you do slip into your heels. And practice. Consistency is key. Consistency is key. Thanks for watching.